In this video, we'll talk about dividing polynomials using long division. Let's work on question A. We have the quantity x squared plus 2x plus 1 divided by x plus 1. X plus 1 is the divisor, and x squared plus 2x plus 1 is the dividend. We need to follow these steps. The first step is division. The second step is multiplication. The last step is subtraction. We need to set up the problem first. We put the divisor here, x plus 1 here, and then the dividend here, x squared plus 2x plus 1. We need to follow the first step right here, which is division. We take x squared, the first term, divided by x. You got x, we put right here. So the next step is, the second step is multiplication. We take x, we multiply back to the divisor right here. So x times x, you put x squared right here. X times 1, you got x, you put it here. Now we need to follow the last step, which is this one, subtraction. You put the subtraction sign, the minus sign, outside of this expression. So this minus sign is just -1. -1 times to each term inside, you got minus x squared right here and minus x. Now you add them together. X squared plus minus x squared, you got 0x squared. 2x minus 1x, you got x. Now you put number 1 down. Now you look at the power of this. You see this one, x raised to the first, and then this one is x raised to the first, which means you can still divide this expression to the divisor. You need to follow the 3 steps above. So you take x divided by x, you got 1. You write 1, number 1 right here. And the second step is multiplication. You take 1 times to the whole expression here. 1 times x, you got x right here. You put it down. And 1 times 1, you got 1 right here. The last step is the subtraction. You put the minus sign right here outside of this term. And this minus sign is actually -1. -1 times to each term inside, you got minus x, right? And then -1 times 1, you got -1 inside. Now you add them together. X minus x, you got 0. 1 minus 1, you got 0. So you write down 0 here. And in this case, the remainder is 0. This number is the remainder. And then this term is the quotient. We write down the result for question A is like this. We write down the quotient here, which is x plus 1. And because the remainder is 0, so we don't write anything else. So this is the final answer for question A. Let's work on question B. We have the quantity x squared minus 2x plus 3 all divided by x minus 1. We see x minus 1 here is the divisor, and x squared minus 2x plus 3 is the dividend. So the first step we need to do is we put x minus 1 here, which is the divisor here, and we put the dividend here, x squared minus 2x plus 3. We need to follow these 3 steps. The first one is division, which means we need to take x squared divided by x. You got x right here. You write down x. The next step is the step number 2, multiplication. We take x times x minus 1, and we write down the result underneath here. X times x, we got x squared right here. And x times minus 1, you got minus x, you put it here. Then the last step is subtraction right here. We put the subtraction sign outside of this expression. This minus sign will apply to each term inside. Basically, whenever you have the subtraction sign outside of the parentheses, each term inside must change the sign. So we need to change the sign of each term inside the parentheses. Or we have, this is -1 times x squared. We got minus x squared. We got minus x squared here. And then minus of minus, you got positive x right here. Now we add them together. X squared minus x squared, you got 0x squared. Minus 2x plus x, you got minus x. And 3, add to nothing, you got 3. We have minus x plus 3. We see this is x raised to the first. And this is x raised to the first, which means we can still divide this expression to this divisor. We repeat the 3 steps here. First, division. We take minus x divided by x, you got negative 1. And second step is multiplication. We take minus 1 times the whole thing right here. And the result you write down here. Minus 1 times x, you got minus x right here. Minus 1 times negative 1, you got positive 1. And then the last step is subtraction. We put the minus sign outside of this expression. And because this is a negative sign, each term inside, we need to change the sign. So minus of minus, you got positive. Minus of positive 1, you got minus 1. Then become positive. Now we can add them together. Minus x plus x, you got 0x. 3 minus 1, you got 2. Because this is actually 2 times x to the 0. And you see 0 is less than 1 here. So which means you stop repeating the 3 steps above. And 2 here is the remainder. And we write down the result for question B. This is the quotient. We put x minus 1. Because in this case, the remainder is not 0. So you need to write down plus 2 divided by the divisor here, x minus 1. And this is the result for question B. Another example. We have the quantity x raised to the third minus 2x squared minus 4 divided by x minus 3. We need to set up the problem. We take x minus 3 right here. And then x to the third minus 2x squared plus 0 times x minus 4. We need to put the 0 coefficient to any term that's missing in the polynomial, which is x to the first. This is the divisor and this is the dividend. After you set up the problem, you need to follow 3 steps. The first step is division. The second step is multiplication. The last step is subtraction. Let's follow the first step. We take x to the third divided by x. You got x squared right here. You write here. The next step is multiplication. You take this one, multiply back to this expression, and write the result here. X squared times x, you got x to the third. X squared times minus 3, you got minus 3x squared. Now the last step is subtraction. You put the minus sign outside of this expression. Then you can change the sign of all the terms inside here, which means from positive you got negative, from negative you got positive, and then you eliminate this sign. Next, you add these expressions together. X to the third minus x to the third, you got 0. Minus 2x squared plus 3x squared, you got 1x squared. 0x to the first, you put it here. 0 times x to the first. And minus 4, you put it down. Now we see this is x squared and this is x to the first. So we still can repeat the step. So x squared divided by x, you got x. That was the first step, division. Then the next step is multiplication. You take this one, multiply back to the divisor. X times x, you got x squared right here. And x times minus 3, you got minus 3x. The last step is subtraction. You put minus sign right here. Then inside the parentheses, each term we change the sign. From positive, you got negative. From negative, you change to positive. And then you eliminate the minus sign outside. Then you can add 2 expressions together. X squared minus x squared, you got 0. 0x to the first plus 3x, you got 3x. And minus 4, you put it down. Now we see this is x to the 1 and then this is x to the 1, which means you can still follow these 3 steps again. 3x divided by x, you got 3. You put it here. The next step is the second step, multiplication. You take number 3, multiply back to the divisor. The result you write underneath here. 3 times x, you got 3x here. 3 times negative 3, you got negative 9. You put it here. Now the last step is subtraction. You put subtraction sign outside right here again. Then inside from positive, you change to negative. From negative, you change to positive. And then you eliminate this subtraction sign. Now we add these two expressions together. 3x minus 3x, you got 0. Minus 4 plus 9, you got 5. And 5 here is actually 5 times x raised to 0. And you see 0 less than 1, which means you stop repeating the steps. And 5 here is the remainder. And we can write the result for question C is we put the quotient, which is this one. X squared plus x plus 3. And because the remainder is 5, it's not 0. So you need to write down like this. We put 5 on the numerator and then we put the divisor as the denominator, which is x minus 3. So the final answer for question C is this one. Let's try this problem. First of all, we need to set up the problem. We put 2x minus 3 here, which is the divisor here. And then we put the whole expression 2x to the 4th minus 9x to the 3rd plus 0 times x squared plus 4 times x plus 12. This is the dividend. After you set up the problem, you need to follow these 3 steps. The first step is division. The second step is multiplication. The last step is subtraction. So the first step is you take 2 times x to the 4th divided by 2x. You got x to the 3rd. Anytime that you find difficult to find the result, you can always write right here. 2 times x to the 4th divided by 2x. You see 2 divided by 2, you got 1, right? And then x to the 4th divided by x, you got x to the 3rd. And then that's why you put x to the 3rd here. The first step was done. We need to follow the second step, multiplication. X to the 3rd time back to the divisor here. And you write down the result underneath here. X to the 3rd times 2x, you get 2x to the 4th. And x to the 3rd times minus 3, you got minus 3x to the 3rd. Now the last step is subtraction. You put the minus sign here. Then everything in the parentheses, you need to change the sign from positive 2x to the 4th to negative. And then you have negative sign here, you change it to positive. Just simple as that. And then you eliminate this sign. Next, you add these two expressions together. This term and this term will cancel out, right? 3 minus 9, you got minus 6x to the 3rd plus 0 times x squared minus 4x plus 12. Then you can repeat the 3 steps here. Minus 6x to the 3rd divided by 2x, you got minus sign right here and 3 right here and x squared. Or you can rewrite in here 6x to the 3rd divided by 2x. So minus 6 divided by 2, you got minus 3 times x squared, right? That's why you put negative 3x squared in here. Next, you follow the second step. You multiply minus 3x squared back to here. Minus 3x squared, you multiply 2x, you got minus 6x to the 3rd. Minus 3x squared, multiply minus 3, you got positive 9x squared. Now, the last step is subtraction. We'll put the minus sign here. Now you need to change the sign of all the terms inside the parentheses. From negative, you put it as positive. From positive, you change to negative right here. And then you eliminate this subtraction sign. Now you add two expressions together. You see this term and this term is cancelled out. 0x squared minus 9x squared, you get minus 9x squared. Then you put minus 4x plus 12 down. Now you see this is x squared, and then this is x to the first, right here. Which means you can still repeat this step. We take minus 9x squared divided by 2x. We have minus 9 over 2 times x. The next step is multiplication. We take this one, multiply back to the divisor. Minus 9 over 2 times x times 2x, you get minus 9x squared. Minus 9 over 2 times x times minus 3, you have positive 27 over 2 times x. The last step is subtraction. You put the minus sign right here. Basically, you need to change the sign of every term in here. From negative become positive, and from positive it's become negative. And then you can eliminate this one. Next, you add them together. This term and this term was cancelled out. Now you have minus 4x minus 27 over 2 times x equal minus a over 2 times x minus 27 over 2 is minus 35 over 2 times x plus 12. Now we see x raised to the 1 right here, right? And then this is x raised to the 1, which means you can repeat these three steps. So you take minus 35 over 2 times x divided by 2x. You got minus 35 over 4. Then you follow the second step. You take minus 35 over 4 times back to the divisor. Let me write down this expression here. Minus 35 over 2 times x to the first plus 12. I just write down the whole expression here. Now we multiply minus 35 over 4 times back to the divisor here. Minus 35 over 4 times 2x. You get minus 35 over 2 times x. And minus 35 over 4 times negative 3. You have 105 over 4. Now we follow the last step, which is subtraction. We put subtraction sign right here. And then every term inside here, we change the sign. So minus sign become positive. And positive signs right here become negative. Then you need to eliminate this one. Then you can add them together. This one and this one, it was cancelled out. 12 subtract 105 over 4. You got minus 57 over 4. Since the power of this variable is x to the 0 is less than x to the 1 right here. So which means this is the remainder. And you stop the three steps here. So this is the remainder. And the quotient is this expression. Then I will write out the result for question D. Equal, we put the quotient here, x to the third minus 3x squared minus 9 over 2 times x minus 35 over 4. And because the remainder is not 0, we need to include the remainder, which is minus 57 over 4 divided by the divisor. So you put divisor at the bottom, 2x minus 3. And this is the final answer for question D. Let's try another one. First of all, we need to set up the problem. We need to write down the divisor here. X squared minus x plus 1. Next, we put the whole expression here. 5x to the 5th minus 4x to the 4th plus 2x to the 3rd minus x squared plus 0 times x minus 10. After you set up the problem, you need to follow these three steps. The first step is division. We take 5x to the 5th divided by x squared. You can write down right here. 5x to the 5th divided by x squared. you see it equal to 5 times x to the third. And 5x to the third right here, you put it here. 5x to the third. Then you follow the second step, multiplication. You take 5x to the third times the whole expression here. 5x to the third times x squared is 5x to the fifth. And 5x to the third times minus x, you got minus 5x to the fourth. And 5x to the third times 1, you have 5 times x to the third. Next, it is the subtraction step right here. You put the minus sign right here. Then you see positive sign in here is become negative. Minus sign here become positive. And positive sign here, it will become minus sign right here. And then the minus sign outside, you can remove it. Now we add two expressions together. 5x to the fifth, you can cancel with this one. And 5x to the fourth minus 4x to the fourth, you got 1x to the fourth. You put it here. 2x to the third minus 5x to the third, you have minus 3x to the third. And you put everything down. Minus x squared plus 0x minus 10 down. Now you see x to the fourth, the power is 4, is greater than 2 right here, which means you can repeat the 3 steps here. And you take x to the fourth divided by x squared right here. You got x squared and you write down here. The next step is here, multiplication. We take x squared, multiply back to this expression and write down the result here. X squared times x squared, you got x to the fourth. And x squared times minus x, you got minus x to the third. X squared times 1, you got x squared. Next is subtraction. You put the minus sign here. Then everything inside the parentheses, you need to change the signs. From positive here, it became negative. From minus signs here, it become positive. From positive sides here, it become negative. Then you can remove this side. Next, you add two expressions together. You see, you cancel this one and this one together, right? And then 1x to the third minus 3x to the third. You got minus 2x to the third right here. And then minus x squared and minus x squared, you got 2x squared. And you put 0x and minus 10 down. Now we see this is x to the third, the power is 3, and then this is 2, the power is 2. So we can repeat the 3 steps here. The first step, you take minus 2x to the third divided by x squared. You have minus 2 times x. And minus 2 times x, you multiply back to the divisor here, which is the second step. Minus 2x times x squared is minus 2x to the third. Minus 2x times minus x, you got positive 2x squared. And minus 2x times 1, you have minus 2x right here. Next is the subtraction step. You put the minus signs here, and then everything in here, you need to change the size. From negative become positive. And then this is positive, it become negative. And then this is from negative, it's become positive. And then you can remove the size. Then you add two expressions together, right? This one and this one is cancelled out. Then you see minus 2x squared minus 2x squared again. So it's going to be minus 4x squared. 2x plus 0x, you got 2x. Minus 10, you put it down. Next, you see the power of the exponent is 2, right? And then this is 2. Which means you can continue repeat these 3 steps again. You take minus 4x squared divided by x squared right here. You got minus 4. You put it here. And then the next step is multiplication. You take minus 4 times back to the divisor here. Minus 4 times x squared, you have minus 4x squared right here. Minus 4 times negative x, you have positive 4x. Minus 4 times 1, you have minus 4. Next is the last step is the subtraction step. We put the minus sign here and parentheses here. Then everything in here, we need to change the sign inside. From negative, you have positive. From positive right here, you need to change to negative. And from negative, you change to positive. And then you can eliminate this sign. Then you add them together. This term and this term would cancel out, right? 2x minus 4x, you get minus 2 times x. Minus 10 plus 4 is minus 6. And now you see this is x raised to the 1. And this is x squared, which means you cannot repeat the 3 steps here. And minus 2x minus 6 is the remainder. This is the remainder, right? Now we want to write the result for question D. We need to write down the quotient. This is the quotient. We put the quotient here, which is 5x to the third plus x squared minus 2x minus 4. Because the remainder here is not 0. So you need to include the remainder here. We need to write down minus 2x minus 6 divided by the divisor here, which is x squared minus x plus 1. And this is the final answer for question D. Let's work on this problem. First, we need to set up the problem. We put the divisor here, x to the third plus x plus 1 here. And we put the dividend here, x to the 7th plus x to the 6th plus 0 times x to the 5th plus 2 times x to the 4th plus 0 times x to the 3rd plus 3x squared plus x plus 1. We need to follow the 3 steps. First is division, second multiplication, and third subtraction. First of all, we need to take x to the 7th divided by x to the 3rd. We have x to the 4th, and you write it here. X to the 4th times x to the 3rd, you got x to the 7th. You write here. X to the 4th times x, you got x to the 5th. Right here. And x to the 4th times 1, you have x to the 4th. Then the next step is subtraction. We put the minus sign outside of this expression. Then everything inside, we're going to change the sign of each terms. Positive, it becomes negative. Here is positive, become negative. And then here is positive here, it become negative. Then we can eliminate this subtraction sign. Now we add this expression and this expression together. We have x to the 7 minus x to the 7 is 0. We have x to the 6, we put it down right here. This is 0. 0 minus x to the 5th is minus x to the 5th. 2x to the 4th minus 1x to the 4th, you get 1x to the 4th plus 0 times x to the 3rd. And then we have 3x squared plus x plus 1. We put them down. The next step, we see the power is 6 right here is greater than 3 right here. So we repeat the 3 steps we just did. So x to the 6 divided by x to the 3rd, we have x to the 3rd right here. And x to the 3rd, we multiply back to the divisor. X to the 3rd times x to the 3rd, you got x to the 6 right here. X to the 3rd times x, you got x to the 4th. X to the 3rd times 1, you have x to the 3rd right here. The reason why I write missing elements because I want to have easier subtraction or addition between the two expressions, right here and here, here and here. The next step is subtraction. We put the subtraction outside of this expression, right? Then everything in here, we need to change the sign. From positive in here, we put negative. From positive here, it becomes negative. And from positive here, become negative. And then we can eliminate the sign. Then you can add two expressions together. See, this one and this one cancel out. Minus x to the fifth, we put it down. X to the fourth cancel with x to the fourth. 0 minus x to the third, you have x to the third right here. And then add 3x squared plus x plus 1. Right here you can put 0 times x to the fourth. Now you see the power of 5 right here is still greater than 3, the power of 3. So we can still repeat the step we just did above. We take minus x to the fifth divided by x to the third. You have minus x squared. Then you take minus x squared, multiply back to this expression. Minus x squared multiply x to the third, you have minus x to the fifth. Minus x squared times x, you got minus x to the third. And minus x squared times 1, you have minus x squared. Then the next step is subtraction. We put subtraction sign right here. And then everything in here, you need to change the sign. From negative, it becomes positive. From negative, it becomes positive. And from negative, become positive right here. Then you eliminate this sign. Next, you add these expressions together, right? This one and this one cancel out. 0 times x to the fourth, which is 0. X to the third cancel with x to the third right here. And then 3x squared plus x squared is 4x squared plus x plus 1. This is 0, you can eliminate this. Then you notice this is the power of 2 is less than the power of 3 right here, which means you cannot repeat the step that we just did. Now this is the remainder. And this is the quotient. X to the fourth plus x to the third minus x squared. And we write down the result for this problem is, we put the quotient right here. X to the fourth plus x to the third minus x squared. Then, because the remainder is not 0 in this case, we need to include the remainder. Plus 4x squared plus x plus 1, and the whole remainder you divide it by the divisor right here. X to the third plus x plus 1. And the whole thing like this is the answer for this question. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. If you have any question or any comment, please leave your comment down below this video. And thank you for watching. See you again in my next videos.